And now we are live. We are back again. Hello, guys, and welcome to another
Hello.
episode. First of all, I would like to say sorry for taking so long to give you guys something different or something new. I've been busy with my exams and other things I got going. But all thanks to God, I'm done with that, and now here we are. I would like to say thank you to Steve and Richie for making out their time to sit with me and, as I always say, to talk about things. To talk, I like to use the word talk. But when we talk, like conversation is very important. We need to sit and have a conversation. When we have a conversation, we understand each other better. So I'd like to say thank you guys for making out time to sit with me and have a conversation regarding the topic that we'll be treating. Without wasting much of your time, I will go into asking you guys how you doing, how are you coping up with the whole corona issue. Richie is in Chicago, and Steve is in Jerusalem, and I'm also in Jerusalem. So Richie, how are you coping up with the corona?
So right now it's 8 a.m. here in Chicago time. So I had to wake up early today. So it's different because in Corona you're able to sleep in a little longer, but it's okay. So for me, it's been very. At first, it was I think much easier because I was going to school and I was very busy. I was doing papers, etc., etc. But I think it's as of May, it started slowing down. I've been able to like catch up on readings, Netflix, just relax. Something that I haven't done in a while. I think I came back from Jerusalem in March, right in, and then I came into quarantine. So I think it was a long trip, but I think this month has been great just to relax. And now it's June, so yeah. But I
So
think
I
I've
guess,
been pretty well
oh, I guess you're enjoying your time at home, just relaxing
for
and.
now. I am. I don't know how it's gonna be in the future. I don't think I can do it too much longer. I think I need to go out.
And Steve, what about you? How are you coping up with the corona?
Yeah, everything's okay here. The country here is opening up little by little. The weather is nice, and at the monastery that we live in, we have big open space, a nice garden, so we're able to get outside. And like Richie said, just being able to slow down. I finished my exams, being able to read and to hang out with the community. I mean, the thing is, we're trying to get back to the States. So my first flight was canceled, and now I'm trying to work on getting another flight to come back home. But yeah, we'll see. But life is peaceful, slow. It's okay.
I see, it's good. At least we are both in the same shoes. I
Yes.
know Richie was here with his group from Chicago. They came here and they had to leave in a hurry because of the corona issue.
Hmm.
But all thanks to God, we're all in good health. We're all alive, and we are all able to sit together once again and talk. So, without wasting much time, I know you guys are keeping up with what is happening in America. It began in America, and right now, I will tell you that there are protests going on in Nigeria, for instance. There are protests going on in Australia, all over the world, even in Tel Aviv. People are protesting with the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Understand? And some will say, yes, not only Black lives, all lives matter. But they say there's something. For we to have this hashtag, that means something is going on. There's a problem somewhere. So I won't go into asking you guys to define what racism is, because I believe that most of people listening to us right now, they know what racism is all about. At least they have an idea. But sometimes we think that people have an idea, but I don't think so. I give an example. Yesterday, somebody showed me a photo of her friend in the idea with the idea of trying to be in solidarity with blacks all over the world. She's Caucasian, she's Israeli. She painted herself black. She's saying Black Lives Matter. So she painted herself black. In America and in most part of the world, we call that blackface. And blackface is racism, right? She doesn't know that. I was like telling her, this is racism. She said, no, it's not racism. I'm in solidarity with black people all over the world. I said, this is racism. So I give the example of Gucci when they made a shoe with blackface and all those kind of examples. I give another example. One of our priests told me that before doing his ordination in Mexico, he invited his confrere, an African confrere from Rwanda, to come to Mexico to witness his ordination. So when he arrived in Mexico, the kids, they were painted black. Like they've all painted in blacks to welcome the priest. You see, that was their own way of welcoming the priest. They were happy. But the priest didn't know that that is racism.
Yeah.
And they also are doing it with the sense of joy to welcome the priest. You see? So you see, and we find ourselves by sometimes difficult to separate one thing from the other. It's difficult to find a balance. Where are we going to the extreme or where we're not going to the extreme? So with all these examples, I say it's not so clear what racism is all about to some people. You might have an idea. See if you grew up in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. You're born in
Yes.
America, you're there, Richie also, you're of Mexican origin, but you live in America almost all your life. So you've in one way or the other witnessed what racism is all about. And looking at what is happening in America right now today, and looking at how far you guys have grown, your age, and coming to age today, what can you guys say about what's happening? How does this affect you? So, Steve, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, uh, it's it gets so complicated now, and I think for me, it's really I've been so separated from the United States for these past 3 years, studying in Jerusalem, that seeing what's going on, and I mean, it definitely breaks my heart watching the video. You know, all these videos that are put out, and just the emotion and all of these things are. It's really painful for me, especially being so far away. I'm really not on social media. I'm not able to really voice my concerns or try to help the situation there. So being so separated is definitely difficult for me. Um, but yeah, just I love what you're doing here. I think we need more of this, no? More of this, being able to sit down and have a conversation and being able to learn different people's experiences and what's going on. Because, you know, I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up in mostly white, upper class, small town in Connecticut. Um, Not really surrounded by many black people or really in that context. You know, my experience was I used to love to listen to DMX, the rapper Nas, like all these guys. Like that was my connection. That was my view. You know, of rap. I love rap music. I loved it was either rap music or an athlete. That was my perception. You know? And I think we have to. So being brought into this conversation, I think, is an avenue for me to just be able to sit down and have conversations with people who've had, you know, really terrible, racist, terrible experiences in their life, and trying to be able to understand that and self-critique myself and my own prejudices and my own fears and my own ignorance on a lot of things. Um, so it helped me now, hopefully going back to the States in 2 weeks or in a week, to kind of better understand and hopefully have more conversations over the summer just to see what's going on and where do we go from here. Okay, there's a lot of pain, a lot of emotion, a lot of things going on, but where do we go? What do we do together to change what needs to be changed, to better what needs to be bettered? So that's kind of where I am now. Kind of, I feel still distant, but looking to get involved.
Thank you. Richie?
So I'm here actually in Chicago in the United States. And I think watching the video was very heartbreaking. It was sad. I think it was like I had to watch it a few times. And it was very painful to just witness that horrific issue happening here in America after many, many years. Um, what else can I say? I just think with the uprising and the looting is a response to the suffering that many of these individuals have been going through for many, many years, and they're putting their voice out there so someone can listen to them. They're maybe doing it the wrong way with the looting, but I think they had to do it this way in order for their voices to be heard. I think it's slowly stopping now with all the military that's being brought in from Trump office and whatever. But I think it's serving a good purpose.
Okay, thank you. But I want to go back to Steve. There's something you say you grew up in a white community. But growing up, you were really interested in DMX because I know Steve is a rapper. He raps very well. I've listened to you
Oh,
rap. So yeah, you're into this. Excuse my language. Excuse me to say black culture. You like rapping. You were interested in black artists. And was that something that came from your family, or it was just a personal interest? That okay, or did you feel that these people they look different from the way I look, so I want to get to know them? How did that interest all come about? How did
Yeah,
you
I think it
develop the
was for me. It was just more hip hop culture in general. Because I mean, I also grew up with Eminem. He was when I was in middle school, it was the real Slim Shady. Please stand up. Now that was all going on right there. So I think it was just the hip hop culture in general was very captivating. It was very popular, very cool, and so almost all of us, all of my friends, really, we listened to a lot of rap music and just that kind of hip hop culture. And so that was definitely not from my family at all. It's not even my sister. She gave me a CD of No Doubt, which is like
uh,
a alternative music. No, that they were definitely pushing me to broaden my horizons on music. But I was listening to still a lot of rap music and stuff. But so I think, well, what I did get from my family was an openness. No, I never felt any sort of like I was better than anybody else, or I was always brought up in a family of to serve, to listen, to be respectful. So I never felt any sort of being better than anybody else or anything like that. I just didn't have the contact around me. I was not in a place um, surrounded by much diversity, and
yeah.
so it took me a while, but I was always open to it. No, I never felt, I spent 6 months in Africa. I've been to many different cities. I've interacted with many different people as a Salesian. So I think from my childhood, I was always open to the diversity of humanity. So I think that helped me, uh, just be open to different situations, different people. I'm not in a place uh, surrounded by much diversity. So
Yeah.
but it took me a while, but I was always open to it. I never felt. I spent 6 months in Africa. I've been to many different cities. I've interacted with many different people as a Salesian.
Okay,
So I think from
hold
my
on. I
childhood,
think
I was always open
yeah.
to the diversity of humanity.
Okay, sorry. I was listening.
That's-
Yeah. So Richie, what do you want to say about that? Like,
well,
do you think your family kind of like growing up as a Mexican in America, did you feel different or do you feel that you were treated differently by the people? As
I
okay,
I think coming from an immigrant family, you always are treated different. You always have the rhetoric of farm workers, fruit pickers. You have all this terms that people use to describe you, and you often like hear it so much that when you're young, you often feel like you believe it, or like I can't go beyond like working at McDonald's or having like a simple job. Like I can't break that bubble. But I think going to college really, really makes a difference and helps you educate yourself. You are able to make connections with people. You are able to go to college and have sociology courses where you're able to argue with people of different races, ethnicities, backgrounds, cultures, etc. And it's a very, very eye opener to learn from the other and see what stuff they go through and share your experience as well. And I think that's what many people in America, where it's so diverse, that we often forget to see the other, and we're just like we just live constantly running, running, running. We're working. We're so busy here that we don't like stop to think about the other, or who your neighbor is, no matter who the color of his skin. And I think quarantine has like made us stop, live in our house, actually like see who your neighbor is, and take care of one another, especially if one of the person is elderly. Oh, I can help you do that, or let me help you, or whatever. Oh, can you run to the store to get me this? So I think this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people right now are uprising, not just African people for the Black Lives Matter movement, but I know a lot of Hispanics are jumping into like protesting, and even white Americans are doing that as well. Not every white person is bad.
Thanks.
That's something we should get very clearly, because sometimes there's this tag that goes that makes some people think that all white people are immediately racist, or once they say white person, I have to feel inferior. I'm speaking from experience, because I have lived in so many international diverse communities, and you get that once there's a white person, people always, black people, they think that okay, immediately I have to go like low. I don't know what is the cause of that, but it happens. So, but I think on the other hand, as Richie is saying, that we have to realize that we are, each and every one of us, we are a gift to the other person. We are beautiful, we are wonderful, we are all equals, and we get carried away with what we are doing. We fail to see the other person. We don't take a step backward to see the other person. But with what is happening right now, I believe that our eyes are beginning to open, because this is what we are fighting for right now is not something which is new. Our ancestors fought for them, and even though our ancestors fought for them, they were white people fighting with our ancestors for justice, for the right thing. So it would be so bad to put everybody in the same box. But on the other hand, there's still a challenge that if this thing is going on every year, since the 60s, we have the Martin Luther King fighting for this until 2020, people are still fighting for the same thing. That means something is wrong somewhere. That means there's a system of education which is not right. That's why I put it. Because I believe that racism is a form of education. I don't think that kids were born to hate, as I say. Knowledge is being handed down from one generation to the other. So there's been a form of education going on, which we don't know. And these might be taking place within the families. These might be taking place within the church or the mosques or the synagogues. We don't know, but there's something wrong. There's a systemic virus which has gone from one generation to the next, from one century to the next. So what do you guys think? Or what can you guys suggest that can, as antivirus, that can put an end to this thing, to this systemic form of maltreatment? Because I think it's a systemic something. I give an example of what Richie mentioned. He said, being the son of an immigrant or being an immigrant in America, you know that you cannot we mainly get a good job. You are okay, grocery store, all these kind of things, these menial jobs. And Steve, maybe in one way or the other, you might have experienced that in Israel, whereby the Arabs considered like the middle class. Even we have the Israeli Arabs. You know, Arabs who are Israel that are Israelis, so they are not also on the same pedestals with Jews that are Israelis or Ethiopians that are Israelis. So even if I come to my country, there's also this question of systemic tribalism. People are fighting for racism, but there's tribalism, which is even, I can say an Igbo cannot marry a Yoruba, an Igbo cannot marry a Hausa, and Hausa cannot marry an Igbo. So I'm talking about these are the tribes. So it's that there's something which is wrong with the system. I feel like that. So what can you guys suggest as I use the word antivirus to put an end to this virus? Not corona, but the virus of racism, the virus of bigotry, the virus of hate, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, because for me, it's always dangerous to talk about a system, because sometimes we can distance, know that the system is made up of individuals. No?
Okay.
If we just say, okay, systematic racism, there may be widespread, there may be laws that are discriminatory, there may be these things, but people put those laws in place and people can change those laws. So for me, one of the biggest things is like you said, education, but not education like so many of our, we can learn doctrines or definitions or things, but if our education is not experiential, if we're not actually having dialogue between different races or between different class groups or different minorities or amongst people, if our education doesn't lead us to dialogue and to interact with each other and hear each other's stories and all these things, then we're just learning on an intellectual level, and it's not going to change hearts. It's not going to convert anybody. And so I really think, you know, as a Salesian, I'm going to be going to schools. I'm going to be educating high school students.
The youth.
And if I just sit there from the front of the classroom and say, okay, racism is wrong, we're all made in the image of God. If I just say this and then give them an exam and then they pass their exam and an A plus, that means, okay, everybody's fine and they're going to go into the world and everything's going to be great. But that's not true. Unless I get them to really sit in dialogue and get angry at each other and get some of this stuff off of their chest, and we're not going to learn how to debate and to talk and to work together to move forward. So, to me, education definitely, but maybe not the education that we have now with just a teacher talking and giving and getting grades or whatever. So, I think we can change a little bit the education, and then to realize that it's individuals who make the laws and individuals who are putting systems in place. So, start changing some hearts, and we can start changing, the culture, the situation, whatever. Would be my first reaction.
I like that. I like that. I think that's a really practical suggestion to say there's one thing which is a theory. Just I like the example you gave. Racism is not there, and then but we need to make an effort. And you mentioned dialogue as a way. People have to get dialogue. They have to get angry at each other, not in a violent way, but angry by. They should be able to talk about these things.
Yeah, with passion. Yeah.
Because I know of a lady. She's from America. She's on Instagram. A mama. She texted me several times. You could tell that she's Caucasian. She's sad. She's like, why can't people understand that we are the same? We all bleed the same. That she's like, what? Like, so I have like so many Caucasian friends that are feeling bad about the whole thing going on. And I have somebody like we the black people, the black communities all over the world, we're all sad. By the end, we still have our issues that we have to talk about. And that has to, as you say, has to do with, and one way for we to talk about it is our educational sector. We look, how do we invest? How do we bring these things out? Not only in the classroom, but outside where we can be able to talk about these things concretely. So Richie, I don't know if you want to add something to what Steve said.
Yeah, I think what Steve said is perfect. You need education, but I think bringing awareness is also something that should be done. I think people don't believe racism is something that is there, or people don't believe that it exists, or people just push it aside that it's something in the past of the civil rights movement, already took care of that, and that it just doesn't exist, and it's there, that it's not there. And in sociology, we have a term called colorblind racism, where we believe that it's something of the past, that it's been taken care of, and everybody of color is living in peace, harmony, etc., etc. But I think we must be blind to say that what happened a few days ago is not racism. So I think just bringing awareness that this is something real, that this is something people that when you walk past by in the street are facing. And I think also traveling is something that getting out of your hometown or little city or neighborhood, go out, meet people, encounter them. I know sometimes it's going to be hard because you don't speak the same language or there's different food, but I think that encounter is very, very important, just to see the other person, that there's more to America, there's more to Mexico, there's more to go out and see Brazil, go out and see Israel. I think this is a really big eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there other examples you would like to add as a way whereby we could put an end to this antivirus? Because I give an example, I want to raise something up. 2 years ago, my friend asked me, She was like, have you ever experienced racism in Israel? I said, personally, no, I haven't. Immediately she said, you see, we Israelis are not racist. I'm like, not because it hasn't happened to me means that it's not happening to someone out there. And racism is not only towards blacks. Blacks can be racist also. Even among the Caucasians, they can be. You guys, for example, there's a way a Polish person, someone from Poland, treats someone from Ukraine working in Poland or living in Poland. Understand? There's a way a Nigerian treats a Cameroonian working in Nigeria. But these are all the same race. See? But there's a way whereby a Mexican treats a Chinese living in America. They were all born and they were all born in America. So you see that sometimes we act, should that consciously or unconsciously, towards this factor. And one of the issues you guys mentioned is denial. Where people deny the fact that people that think that there is no racism. You say, "Oh, I'm friends to a black guy, so I'm not a racist," or my my boyfriend is black or my girlfriend is black. I'm not a racist. I'm married to within you. There might be no problem within your nuclear context, but your extended family, are they okay with that? Are they cool with that? So, Steve, like, do you think that as even as a Caucasian, you've experienced racism as an American, as a Caucasian? Have you ever experienced an act of racism or something like something that has to do with hate towards you?
Yeah, I mean, there was one instance in college that during Halloween in college, you dress up and you go out and all these things, and you whatever, go to parties or whatever. And there was one instance where I dressed up. I don't know if you've ever noticed David the Gnome. David the Gnome was like a cartoon character. He wore a pointy red hat and a beard, and he was a little gnome, a garden gnome. So I was David the Gnome, and I would go around, and we were going out to different parties or whatever. And I was, there's a group of African Americans, black guys, who came over to me and said that I was in the KKK because they saw my pointy hat. But it was a paper red hat. I had a white beard, and I was dressed up for Halloween. And they came over, they destroyed my hats, they threatened to beat me up and all these things because they said I was in the KKK, and they said I was racist, and they said all these things. So they don't know me, they don't know anything about me. It was just an instance of whatever, whether there was drinking or whatever it was. It was just hatred towards the way I looked. And I think little things like that, even here in Israel, because of my beard, maybe I look more Arab, and I've been spoken to ways that are just derogatory, and I don't claim that maybe that's not racist. I don't know, but it's just judging on the way that I look. I have small instances. It does not compare at all to what other people have experienced in their life, but I think it's just partly it's natural as human beings that we judge. We have prejudices. We have initial reactions. And I think for me, learning over these years is that one, I am not my thoughts. I'm not just my brain. My thoughts, they come in and I have these initial reactions, but I can take a step back and say, no, that's not true. No, let's take a moment to get to know the situation or the person. Take a breath. It's okay. So I think if we rely just on our initial reactions, okay, those things can be changed through dialogue, through education, through prayer. All of these things can change the way we look at the world and the way we look at people. So, I've had little tiny experiences, but I think it's something that is very real in the world, that we're scared of what we don't know. We're scared of people who we don't know. I think that's an initial reaction that we can get over, but we can't pretend like it doesn't exist.
Thank you. Richie?
I think media plays a huge role in being scared as well because of the stuff they portray, oh, Africans are like this, or Arab people are like this, or Mexicans are like this. And we don't get that chance to really get to know them before we stereotype them or judge them or see them for who they actually are. And I think if we're able maybe to turn off the remote of the television, I know we're constantly watching the news because of quarantine and the coronavirus and etc. But I think, and it's probably going to be harder now because we can't go out, or whatever. But I think we need to create moments or spaces where we're able to encounter one another, where we're able to learn from each other's culture, eat different food, just like little things like that will make a difference, I think. And turning off that remote control. Because if we keep it on, we're going to get our heads filled up with all these ideologies and all these things that are on TV, and that just makes us sometimes worse.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. I think I agree to the idea of encounter. We have to encounter the other. You know, you're an American. We met in Jerusalem here. We might be bonded in easily. Same with Steve. So I think that when people get to meet each other, but then again, I wanted to say something, but I thought about because when people get to meet each other, they get to enjoy the beauty and diversity, right? But is it possible not to be suspicious as human beings? You know, like I sometimes I think myself as a free spirit. I can meet anybody where I want, when I want. But there are people whereby it's not easy for them. And there's other people, I know of my friend Sam. Sam says sometimes he's walking on the street, he's walking behind a lady, a white lady, or immediately she moves her hand back from back to front. Because she thinks that, no, that's suspicion. It's always there. It would be easy to say, oh, no, we have to trust everybody. But come on. We're human beings and we know that we're not all good. And we are not all bad. We have to make efforts, you know. So
And I think you will only know that until you encounter the person. Like you can't like just depict that person like and be living in suspicion your whole life. Like I think you have to take risks sometimes, and that's what makes a difference. You can't just like live in suspicion your whole life. Oh, that person's bad just because of the way he looks or the way he's walking or the way he's dressed or the color of his hair, whatever. I think living in suspicion or living creates judgments and just discrimination and stuff like that. And I don't think we should live like that.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, so I was just going to say that also to who knows people's experiences. Who knows if this white woman was robbed at some point and now she associates every single person that she
Correct.
meets of that color, that now she's associating everybody with that one instant. So I think Richie's right. If we can create spaces in our cities and I think the church has a huge role to play. The church is a place where diversity is supposed to come together in unity. And I think if we can live that well, we create spaces where we can have dialogues, we can overcome some past where we've been hurt, or we have issues all over the place of our past affecting the way that we look at the world. It could be having a broken family, it could be drugs, it could be whatever that really affects now how I interact with everybody around me. And so how do I bring some healing, some repentance, how do I bring these things so that I can look at the world and see beauty and see peace and work towards that stuff. But if we, even us, if we automatically judge because of this action, she's a racist, she's terrible. Okay, no.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw her do that, maybe can I say, oh, can I engage you in a conversation? I saw that you did this. Was there, can we have a conversation about it? I don't know. It hasn't happened
away.
to me. But yeah, she might run away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something very important you just mentioned now, and that is we never know people's experiences. People go through things that changes their perception or the way they see other people. But the problem is when you put everybody within one box. You feel me, right? So I think that is something which is really challenging. There again, that is our limitation as human beings, and that is why we also have to make efforts. Because I give an example. There's this. I remember this actor Liam Neeson. He played. He's in Taken, the movie Taken. Once he went to ABC or Good Morning America, and he said that at one point in his life, a black man raped his friend. She was raped, and immediately when she came to him crying and sad, he left the house. He took whatever he could get, and he was on the street looking for a black man to kill. At that moment, you see that it's not a question of rationality, a question of emotions, anger. Something happened to his friend, so he didn't care about who did it to him, but as long as he is of this race, he's gonna do that. I'm out there to kill any black man I see or I see my eyes on. I'm not making this up. Those listening, our viewers out there could check on YouTube later on Liam Neeson's interview with on Good Morning America, I think. So he mentioned this. And I understood his perspective. I understood. But one thing I really appreciated, some black people were angry that he's a racist for saying that. But and some people were, no, come on, let's take a step backwards. Coming back to Steve, what he said. Sometimes once emotions come, once thoughts come, we have to take a step backwards. So some people, we took a step backward. We're like, no, this guy saying this to all of us is something which is beautiful. He's owning up to his weakness. He's expressing his pain, his challenges. And he does at that moment, he doesn't need to be judged. He doesn't need to be condemned. Rather, he needs to be loved. That is why he's venting out his weakness out there for we to listen. And this is somebody putting out his experiences. Some people are not able to put out their experiences, so you will never understand. Are you saying, okay, maybe I could try to stop the woman and ask her why she changed the position of her bag? Maybe she might run away. She might even scream, I'm being attacked. But I think this is where personal responsibility comes in, whereby each and every one of us, we need to make an effort not to tag the other person. And Richie made mention of to risk it. At least to try to risk it a bit. Okay, let me give him an opportunity. Let me give him a voice. Let me listen to what he has to say. And I think this is the beautiful thing with this Black Lives Matters movement. People think, oh, they're exaggerating, they're looting, they're robbing. Richie said, if they have been heard for a long time, they will not be attacking, they will not be robbing, they will not be looting. But something is wrong somewhere. That is why they are reacting that way. But on the other hand, changes are going on slowly. And so I think that the fact of we giving the other person the chance to speak will really help us to overcome our differences. Because we've to focus too much on our differences, and because of that, we are not ready to listen to the other person. When we're not ready to listen to the other person, there's no way we are ready to understand the other person. There's no way we are ready to understand why he acts the way he does. As you said, Steve, people experience, maybe we don't know, some people, they go through they have difficulties with drugs and money and all kinds of things. People go through different experiences. By the end, it is our common responsibility. We have the personal responsibility where we have to make an effort, each and one of us. But we also have the communal responsibilities whereby we have to support each other. So what other ways do you guys think that communal responsibilities can help us overcome our differences, this racism and all these hates going on in the world? What do you think that the young boy or a black kid in America now manifesting or demonstrating for his right? What do you think he has to hear? He wants to hear that can make him feel at ease that, okay, maybe I'm being heard. So, want to go first, Richie or Steve?
Steve.
Okay, yeah, I
Steve,
can
you
go.
go. Okay.
Um, I mean, for me, it's yeah. I think one, it's to have some self-reflection because I think for me to be honest, that initially when I heard that a black man was killed by the police, my initial reaction is, okay, he was probably resisting arrest. He was probably that's my prejudice. Now that I automatically go to justify the police officer.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have to deal with. That's my first thought. If I'm going to type in systematic racism, my first my first search is that systematic racism is not true. That's my I'm going to first defend my own that own place. And I think for me to self critique, to self reflect, and recognize that I don't have all the answers, and I need to be able to listen to both sides, and I need to be open to these things. I think that's the first is everybody look inside themselves, recognize that everybody has their prejudices, everybody has their past mistakes, their sins, all of these things. First, self reflect, and then for me, the other thing is we start local. And God willing, I'll be a priest in 2 years. I'll be put into a community, and it's in that community that I work. Unfortunately, in the United States now, everything is so political that we're just speaking over each other. When somebody says Black Lives Matter, somebody's going to say White Lives Matter. All lives matter. And when I say all lives matter, that means Black lives don't matter. It's like nobody's listening to each other, so it becomes so political, so energized with division that nothing is. It's very difficult for things to be accomplished. So for me, now it's a lot of emotion, a lot of protest, a lot of these things, but eventually that's going to come down, and now we have to get to work in our local communities. So I have to work with the different churches, the different denominations, the different religions. I have to, go out and reach the people who are, in the streets or whatever. Go talk to the mayor. Go. That it has to happen locally. Especially in the United States. We it's different than other countries. In other countries, you can look to the president and say he has the power to do things. But in the United States, we have the 50 states with their own sovereignty. They make their own rules. There's different things that they need to do. We have the mayors of the small local communities. So it's not so easy as, okay, I make a national law and everything's going to be fine. I really need to do local responsibility, like you were saying, like individual responsibility. So I think for me, yeah, when I become a priest and I'm put in a community to go and listen to people in my community, and and I love in our scripture classes this year, we had a professor who was always talking about be the light for the nation. That this elected group, this small group, whatever, you can reflect and you can be a good example for. So the community that I'm in, let's be a light to the other communities around that says show that we can be diverse and live in unity. So I think there's so many ways to do it, but I can't speak on a level that is this one law is going to solve all things. This one way is going to solve all problems because I just think I don't know. I just don't think we work like that. It's got to really be conversion of heart, and that's only going to work on like a one-to-one small group kind of situation. For me, that's my goal. I'm not called to be a politician. I'm not called to go and write laws. So I'm called to go into a community and really live what I preach. And Christ came for all humanity. And I think that's for me is my motivation to go into a community, whether it be a school or a parish or whatever, is to bring that. And it's a dynamic reality. It's not static. We're dealing with human beings, broken human beings. So it takes a lot of forgiveness. It takes a lot of patience. But no, I think it's exciting times. Like we're in a time now where there's a lot of fighting, but beautiful things can come from that if we do it the right way.
Cool.
I agree. I think that the USCCB here from the United States the bishops put out a letter called "Open Wide Your Hearts," and I think one of the things that they do acknowledge is that racism is a sin, and one of the things I really like is that they seek forgiveness. They ask for forgiveness for all the people that have been hurt because of this. And I think we can say Black Lives like matter, whatever, everything, and like have all these rallies, but until we don't seek forgiveness and to reconcile with the other, it's going to be much harder. I think we also need to. It's going to be hard. I think one person can't do it all, I think Mother Teresa had a great quote that I like to live up by. If you can't feed the whole world, feed one person at a time. And I think that's what we should do as well. Revisit these issues with the people we encounter. Let them know that this exists. Let them know your cult, like about your culture, about your past, and I think that will help a lot. Just encountering the other and having the other person listen to you, you listen to them as well. Like I think that's very important as well. And I think also building a culture of solidarity where everybody is able to have equal housing, everybody is able to have the same amount of water, electricity. And for example, just going to Palestine, it was it's very sad to I see that their light gets cut off, stuff like that. So I think we need to build a culture of solidarity where everybody has the same experience of life.
Wow, that was rich and very concrete. Really, thank you guys. Really, I really thank you guys for keeping it so concrete and real. And I say, for me, it's really beautiful because it reminds me once again why we each and every one of us is called to build a bridge. We are called to build bridges. So I have to build my bridge. So I'm building my bridge to get to your side. You also you're trying to build your also bridge to reach. So we come to the middle. When we get to the middle, what happens? We hug, we laugh, we smile, we listen, let's talk, let's understand each other better. You understand? So that is for me something which is beautiful. But we are all religious people, and whether we like it or not, there's I could say there's racism in religion or in religious institutions. Uh, but I don't want to use the word racism. I want to use the word differences. I put because this person is not like me, so he should be there. Steve, you said you gave an example of you by just by keeping beard, you're living your beard, and people think that you are Arab and all these kind of things. So they forget that even I am from Nigeria, and there's some dioceses in Nigeria whereby if you are not from that diocese, even though you were born there, I give an example. I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria, but I was born in the south. I grew up in the south. I was baptized in the south. I studied in the south. Everything I did was in the south. Typically, you might say, okay, I'm from the south, right? Because I don't know I didn't grow up in the east. I don't know the east too much. My son from the south, but in Nigeria, it's not like that. Even though when you want to go to it's like to go to join the seminary there in the south, it takes time. They will say, "Oh, okay, you're not from this diocese. You're not. Even though you were born here, you studied here. You're not part of us." So there is, oh, you're being cut. No, you don't join. This is a church. This isn't the church. This is religion. We are called to be witnesses. We are called to bring the good news. I never think I heard any praise in my life growing up doing this homily, preaching against tribalism. I grew up in a place whereby Protestants are arguing and fighting with Catholics, trying to justify who is the best or which religion is the best. We all focus on our differences. We are young people. I remember bringing the calendar, looking. The Catholic Church is the first church in the world. The Anglican. With my friends, said we're just kids at that age. So it took me years with studies to overcome these differences. I'm fortunate to some extent, but there are people back there that are not fortunate to have this education. They're not fortunate to recognize that we are first of all the same. We are one. We are this one. We are. I use the word single humanity. So whatever our diversity, our differences is only to help us appreciate each other's uniqueness and celebrate it always. But sometimes this is lacking. As I said, even in church, even in the religious organizations or congregations. I give an example. I remember one of my friends from my society. It was like the only time you see the blacks coming together is when they want to go against the whites. These are religious. I'm not exaggerating. And it's happened. It happens a lot. You can even within now, if you live in institutions, you might get, okay, the Europeans are there, the Africans are there, the Asians are there. We might meet for prayers, we pray together, we eat together. It's good. But outside from this normal structure, how do we reach out to each other? How do we share? How do we listen? How do we celebrate our diversities? It's not happening. So what can you guys? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right question to ask. But do you guys? What do you, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if you've experienced this. Richie,
Yeah.
Richie, you being an American, you're an American, but of Mexican origin, right? So how do you feel that, okay, being a religious, maybe it's kind of too serious, but do you think that you feel you're being approached because you are different from the other person? Or Steve, you being a Caucasian, finding yourself in an African dominated community, do you feel that sometimes you are being approached differently? So I don't know, but what can you guys say?
Mm, I think within my experience, I feel like I don't fit in with the American type, but I don't feel fit in with the Mexican type either because I wasn't born there. So I have
Mm-hmm.
like a middle ground where like where do I lead to? Like I'm not American, but I'm not like my parents are from Mexico. I love the culture. I'm Mexican, but I also like sometimes I embrace more that I feel like I think I'm more Mexican that I put aside my that I'm American as well. So I think you need to find a balance, but you also need to find like who you are and reflect on it. And I think just for like I don't, and I know I'm not the only one that goes through this phase. I don't know if it's a phase or whatever, or like this, but I think it's something that like Mexican Americans have hard time dealing with, like especially where it's hard like to not know like all the language in Spanish as a whole. But again, it's hard to like connect with the Americans as well. So where do we go? That's like my question, but that's something that we still are figuring out.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, me personally, I've always felt very welcomed in my, I mean, I live in a community with 50 guys from 28 different countries, from Africa to South America to, all the different continents are represented here. And I think for me, it's more about being willing to go into the tension between different cultures, and because it is possible that in our community that we naturally gravitate towards people who are more like us. So we can see sometimes at dinner tables that there's just a white European American that we're all sitting together at a table,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a dangerous thing because it's just natural, it's just easy. It doesn't mean that we hate or that but it's almost just a natural occurrence. And so I have to actively want to build community and to reach out to the other, because as soon as I become indifferent, like as soon as I become apathetic and just not trying to get to know the other person, I can easily just naturally migrate to people who look like me, who speak with me, who have this we have the same kind of likes and dislikes. We like the same food, we like the same music, we like the same cult, like everything. That's easy for me to navigate there. That doesn't mean I hate anybody else, but I really have to actively think, okay, I'm going to sit here because I want to learn, I want to listen, I want to be part of the community, a full, diverse community. And so I think even in my experience here over these last 3 years, I can recognize myself. There's some days that I don't make an effort, and I could just easily talk to the people who I'm closest with culturally. But if I can reach out, it just makes my life so much more beautiful and so much more rich. If I can reach out and to be part of just all different things, even if I don't know, even if I'm uncomfortable at times, or even if I can't fully participate because I don't understand maybe the culture or references to food or things. But to be there and to listen and to sit in the tension is something that is difficult but necessary. And I think that's something that we, as communities in our towns or our parishes, It is. I mean, in the United States, we used to have national churches. We used to have churches that were for the Italians and for the Polish, and then we have like Spanish Mass now. We have Mass in Spanish with it's just the Latin American or whatever. And so we're still segregating our communities by language, and we're not giving them an opportunity to fully immerse in some places. And because it's difficult, it's not easy. You know, maybe the white Americans don't want to go to a Spanish Mass because they're not going to understand. And other way, I don't know. So there's these. It's just easier sometimes to separate, and it's not the way to go. It's not helping us at all.
Yeah.
So how do we encourage people and teach people to stand in that tension, that difficulty, and work to, I don't know, embrace it, and to love it, and to want to seek it out.
I'll give a concrete example to back up what you're saying. Like in Jerusalem, we have Mass, the Hebrew church. Yeah. There's a guy from my house, Isaac from Burkina Faso. He doesn't know Hebrew at all. But I tell you, every Sunday he makes effort to go to the Hebrew Mass.
Yeah.
So I think this is, as I say, this is something that has to do with personal effort, you know,
Yeah.
to go beyond our comfort zone. To, as Richard say, you have to go out of where you're used to and try something new, you know. But now, on the other hand, we've been talking about speaking to each other, listening to each other. We're saying it's beautiful. So there's a question here from Jimmy. Father Jimmy is in Washington, and he's asking you guys, how do we speak to each other concretely? And more important, how do we listen to each other? So would you guys like or love to answer questions? How do we speak to each other concretely? And how do we listen to each other concretely? Over to you.
I think it takes both. I think last summer I was able to do something called CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education. And I think you learn what it means to hear and listen. There's a difference between one and the other. I think sometimes we just hear and we're just hearing people, but we don't actually like listen to what they're actually saying or what they're actually going through or their emotions. And when you're able to do that, I think that's when you're able to dialogue and listen to what the actual person actually is trying to communicate to you, not just with words, but with their facial expressions, with their hands, with anything that's around the room. I think that plays a huge role, learning how to listen, not just hearing people out like, oh, I'm just hearing like this conversation right now and it's just going in and out of one ear, but actually like taking into and like reflecting on what the person is saying and how can I make an impact on the other person. With speaking, I think we need to do it. I think sometimes we don't speak about hot topics because we're afraid to, or because it's just not in part of my comfort. It's making me uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do it. But I think we have to do it. So I think that's my take.
Okay. Steve, thank you, Richie.
Yeah, thanks, Richie. I think it's the same for me. I mean, because I definitely know the difference when I am just listening to somebody and I'm just hearing somebody and I'm not really listening. Like I can easily tell when I'm at the dinner table and I'm just there, but my mind is somewhere else, or I really don't care what they have to say. So I definitely know that there's an active listening, that I'm fully there, I'm fully participating, I care about the person. And I think in this back and forth dialogue, between listening and if you're not a prayerful person, it's very difficult to get into that space of listening and speaking and this dialogue. I think prayer is very important, to learn how to be silent, to learn how to get in touch with yourself and to be present with people, to be present with God is very important. But I think also if you realize that you're not complete without another person, in theology and in studying, we're always talking about that, man is fully realized through gift of himself to the other person. I'll never be fully who I'm supposed to be if I try to be it as an individual. I need other people. I need to be in communion. I need to be in friendship. Like these are just who I was created to be. It's at my very nature to be social, to be outgoing, to be gift, all these things. So to be able to give and to receive. So I think concretely, if I know that I am not complete on my own, then I'm going to seek out relationship, and hopefully I understand what a healthy relationship looks like, and these things that are all part of education on how to live a good, healthy relationship. But I think it takes just small things. When I'm at the dinner table, I listen to my mom and my dad, or my brothers and sisters, or here I listen to my brothers in community. It's just an active, I need to work on it day to day. It's not something that just comes naturally. So I think to make an effort of being able to, yeah, to actively listen, and the way that I speak people, I don't speak from above. I don't speak as if I have all the answers and I know and you're wrong, I'm right, black, white, all these divisions, all these binary things that are not helping. That I speak as a human. I speak to give something, some little thing that I have to offer, but know that you also have something to offer me. If I can get in that space, beautiful things can happen. The connections that are made are amazing. So I think if people have more experiences like that, things will change.
And I think often people don't even want you to say anything. They just want you to listen to what they're going through what just their life, and hear them out. Like, they don't really care. I mean, they probably do care about your opinion or whatever, but they don't really are seeking for that at the moment. They want somebody to actually listen to them, that knows that they care for them and is just there with them, accompanying them with through their pain and whatever they're going through at that particular moment.
Yeah. And we're seen as sometimes as religious, as priests or religious or whatever, that we're supposed to have all these answers, or we feel like we're supposed to have all the answers. And you give me a problem, I'll give you exactly what God wants me to say. And I know the truth, I know all the dogma, I know everything. And it's dangerous because we leave out the mystery, we leave out silence, we leave out a space for people to recognize on their own. Sometimes it just takes time. It just takes time to sit, to be silent, and just to be present. These things are powerful things that, as a culture, I think we've lost with technology. Everything's got to be immediate. Everything, I have to be able to Google my answer. I need to know exactly what my problem is, and we miss a little bit of the mystery of what this life is, and relationship, and the human connection. So, yeah.
I like that. I like what you guys said is true. The concreteness is there. I would just want to add some things from my own perspective. Because someone said that the skill of listening is more difficult than using a knife to cut down grasses. And it's true, as you guys said, you have to make an effort. It's not just like trying to offer solutions or going above the head of the other person, but there have to be a presence. And there's something Steve said that you said I like, that you can tell if you're listening or not. Someone is just making noise. Someone is just talking. You're there. You can tell. I want to listen to him. I don't want to listen to him. Some people, you give your full attention. And that's what you mean by presence. You have to be there. But it's also, with regards to speaking, I think that sometimes there's also this tendency of self-justification and self-defense. I'm a lousy person. I sometimes get lousy and noisy. I'm trying to work on my listening skills. I'm trying to work on my skill of communication. And I realize that the more I work on this aspect I'm lacking, that is the more I become a better version of myself. The more I grow, the more I understand. There's a guy in my house here that's really helped me a lot, Calvin, helped me a lot with listening and communication. What that guy has been able to do in my life within the space of 1 year, thousands of people I've met in my life for the past 20 years did nothing. Excuse me to say. People are able to help you to go into yourself. So we have the responsibility to watch each other to help the other person to make sure he's listening. And I give an example. In class, someone behind is asking a question. You know what Calvin does? He turns his seat.
That's it.
And he's looking at the person speaking. Even though you're saying rubbish, she's looking at you. Well, some of us are just there on our phones and like, there. He is there. That is the presence. And there are people like that. These are simple things people do to show that to the other person that I am with you. I hear your cry. I hear what you're trying to say. You know, it's not being passive, it's being active. I think this is where we really have to make an effort. It's never easy. Because as you said, with the whole issue of technology and we want quick result, we fail to realize the beauty of silence. And there's also that sense of I use it, I always call it the messianic complexity. I'm like a savior. I have the answer to all your problems. Okay. And for religious people, it's often the case for we. Some of us, we think we have the solutions to every problem, or we don't allow ourselves to integrate, to hear what the other person is saying. For sure, people come with their problems, people come with their difficulties, but sometimes they just want us to listen to them. And with all these demonstrations going on, all this looting, all this, I think we have not been communicating well, or we have been communicating well, but we have not been listening well. Because we have not been listening well, that is why these things keep going on. That is why within the family, parents, they have to teach their kids how to listen, how to speak. And we kids, young people, we have to obey. Not blind obedience. You should be able to question. And that is where the communication comes in. How do we speak to each other? If I don't understand, then I have to ask. It's by asking, I know. I believe, I always like to, even though I ask the dumbest questions, but I want to always ask. So that's how I understand. So by asking, we know, we understand. And when somebody's come to you to ask, at least we should be able to listen attentively. It's not to say it's never easy, but it's our ways in which we could overcome our differences. So if you are out there thinking that you want to demonstrate that Black Lives Matters is good, even if you're also a white person and you think that there's no white privilege, it's good. It's all your own choice. Those are your choices. But at the end, as long as there's a reaction to something, that means something is wrong somewhere. So we have to speak and we have to listen. So the question is, how do you as an individual, you ask yourself, how should I reach out to the other person to let him speak to me so that I can be able to listen to him? So I think with this said, I think you guys have said enough. I don't know if you have something else to add, but I think I really appreciate you guys for speaking from your heart. It's never easy to talk about sensitive, because these are sensitive things, but having the courage to talk about it is very important. And I say, they always say that children are the future of tomorrow, and it begins with today. The young parents listening to us, kids or young people listening to us, it starts with you. You have to make that effort. So I don't know if Steve or Rich, you guys have something to add to this, and then before we call it to close.
Yeah, I'd like to just end with, because it was a reflection I heard on everything that's going on with the George Floyd case, killing and everything. That I forget who it was, but it was some YouTube reflection that, the police officers, they forgot that there was a human being, that they were on top of a human being. They thought he was either a criminal or a black person or whatever they thought. They completely forgot that he was a human person struggling for his life. And I think for us, it's so important to remember, whenever we have dialogues, whenever we have protests, whenever that we're battling against human beings, and they have the right to live, and they have the right to everything that I want, they want. We're all coming from struggle. We're all coming from passion, whatever it is. So I think when we go and do research, you can find whatever. If I wanted to go do research and say white privilege doesn't exist, I can find a lot of people who back that up. I can go and look whatever I want to back up. I can find on the internet. I can find whatever I want. But I think it comes down to, if in my research it's leading me to see the other person as a human being, if in my convictions the human person is at the center, and I can love them, and I think for me it's just so important not to forget that I'm not battling some faceless system or whatever. That there's people, there's histories, there's stories, there's cultures. So if I can make that my priority, and just see everything through those lens of, I'm dealing with human people, like persons. I think it can, we'll be less mean, we'll be less violent, we'll be less aggressive sometimes. Now we can see the person. I want to dialogue with you. I'll speak with passion. I'll speak from my heart. I'll cry. I'll yell, whatever. And at the end of the day, you're a human person. I'm a human person. And we both really want the same thing. We want to be happy. We want to be loved. We want to live in community. I want peace. So I think for me, those are important things as we, do our research or whatever. Just remember that we're human.
Thank you. I like that. We're human. Single humanity. Richie, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say that here in Chicago we have a youth group called Fuerte, which that's in Spanish, which in English means strong. And since 2016, they've been fighting gun violence, going to rallies, and doing a lot of good work here in the community. When the looting started happening here, they started recruiting, asking people to donate wood so they can put on people's windows. So they've been very, very living up to what their name is, Fuerte, being strong. And I think these youth are the future of the church. And I think it's beautiful to start seeing that they're taking up and just living to defend people for their lives, for the Black Lives Matter, for an end to gun violence, and they're just fighting for justice. So I just want to say, these teenagers can do it. Anyone can do it. So that's what I want to end it with.
Thank you.
Amen.
I want to end with, I want to give an example of my experiences. I came to Israel and I lived here for almost 4 years. It's been wonderful. I've seen the interest from young Israelis and Arabs towards people of my color or my culture. They're interested. They say, I want to travel to Africa. I want to travel to the blacks. I want to get to know you guys more. For me, these things like this, coming from young people, is really encouraging. Secondly, I was in Poland during the summer. In Poland, before going to Poland, people were like telling me, some people were telling me, oh, it's a racist country. People are going to judge you the way you look, the rest. I didn't, because I'm a guy. I don't care about stereotypes. I like to have make my own experience. So I went to Poland. I lived in Poland. I bet most of the young people haven't seen a black person before in their life. Maybe they see them on TV, but not face to face. Because we walked for nine days through different villages. And in all of these villages, you see people coming, families coming, they're looking at you like this. They're like curious. So they offer you food. I remember sometimes we had a stop somewhere. This woman was like so excited. She came to me and Calvin. She was like, wow, my daughter would never believe that there are black people. Can I take a photo of you guys? So I didn't find it offensive. I found it beautiful. She's saying this for the first. Each time we had to stop somewhere, she comes like she holds our face. She's so excited. She's laughing and smiling and happy. I remember we were going through a village. A kid saw me. I think the mom is Polish and the dad is African or black. So the kid saw me and he was like, Papa. And I was like, what is this? A baby. Everybody began laughing. And I asked the mom, why would the kid call me Papa? The mom said, because in this community, this village, where we live, the father is the only black man there. So, black. So the kid that doesn't say instinctively, it reacts. So I think sometimes when Jesus Christ say, unless you are like little kids, you will not enter into the kingdom of God. I think there's a meaning to that. We have to go to that humble state. From that young age, people are pure. People are still pure. They are like innocent. We have to teach them, give them the right education. Mandela said, no one is born hating the other person. People are taught to hate. If people are taught to hate, even Obama, they could be taught to love more. I always believe that give more of what is good. We are talking about racism. We're talking about tribalism. We're talking about hatred. We are putting a lot of energy talking about this. Let us channel this energy into doing good things. Loving more, self-giving more, reach out more, listen more, talk more, and be able to accept that I do not know everything. we are like, I'm like this, and the other person needs to come like this to fit in. We need to fit in. That is why we are interconnected. So whatever is happening in America, people over the world are demonstrating that, reacting to that. It shows that we are interconnected. Some people are tired of what is happening. We want a better world. We want a better future, not for ourselves only, but for our children's children. So parents out there, you have the responsibility. With the black parents, the white parents, we all have the responsibility to teach love, to teach right, give the right education. The husband, you're beating your wife, your kid is watching you. He's looking at you. And what kind of education do you think you're giving your kid to your kid like that? Husband, you're watching a television, parents, you're seeing a television and you see a white person and you react angrily, or a white person sees a black person, and the kid is by the side, the kid is watching, is copying. You know, it's like I always say that babies are like plain paper, you just have to write on them. You know, you write. So maybe it's bad to say that, but people they learn from what they see sometimes. And we have to set an example through our lives. I know that there are parents out there, white parents, giving the right education to the kids. There are black parents giving the right education to the kids. Let us all make this effort every day. And like that, we are making and creating a better future for ourselves today, but for more importantly, for our children, for the future generations. So with this I've said, I want to say thank you guys for spending an hour and 60 minutes with me. Thank you for all you've said. They were really concrete and beautiful. And I pray that God will continue to bless you. Steve, on Sunday, you'll be ordained to the ministry of diaconate. You'll be deacon on Sunday. I want to
Not
say
tomorrow. Next week.
Yeah, 14th, right?
14, yeah.
Oh,
I want to say congratulations in advance.
Thank
And may
you.
God give you the strength you need to walk in his path. Richie, also, you will also soon be ordained deacon once the corona issue comes down. I want to say congratulations in advance. And as Steve said,
thank you.
we are all sent to a community to reach out, and we're going to start from there. The base, we have to teach people the right thing. We should always remember that we do not have the solutions to everything. We are also weak, just as they are weak. And we can always be strong when we are together. So I pray that the good Lord give you guys the strength to serve him in his vineyard. And may you guys continue to let your light shine to the world. Steve, you're a good rapper. I like how you're killing the career of my friend Sam.
Maybe you should rap for us. Maybe you should show us a little preview.
Maybe next
Yeah,
time.
let's organize a show for us. But with that said, I want to thank you guys so much, and we are out.
Thanks, Nelson. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
I mean, and okay.